We're going to hear Pernille talk about the future. So while Elena logs in with sound and everything, I would just pass the floor to Pernille, because there's a lot of future ahead of us, and you got about 6 minutes to present it. So take it away, Pernille.
Okay, I didn't actually practice if it's 6 minutes, so just stop me. I want to start by saying that in the future, what we need to really understand, all of us, is data understanding. And that is because we are in a data-driven society, and we are seeing two big society models today based on data. There's one coming out of China, which I call a data dictatorship. And there's one coming out of the US, it's of course very roughly, which I call a data monopoly, where big private companies are controlling us through data, whereas in China, it's a government controlling us through data. Those are the two big models. The third model, which I believe some of us are working towards in Europe and in Canada and in other democratic countries, is what I call a data democracy. That's where we are controlling ourselves through our data. And that means we have to control our own data. And to me, there are three big issues which we have to teach in the future, and I'm already teaching it today. One, of course, is source criticism. How to distinguish between fake and truth, and also how to distinguish between the virtual world and the real world, because we're going to see, companies like Facebook meld it all together in a metaverse. So it's very important to have a distinction and understand how to distinguish between this. We've already always seen source criticism in the schools, but it's so much bigger today and so much harder for even, professional journalists as I am. It's pretty hard to find out what you can trust and not trust. So that's one thing, source criticism. The second thing which I've been teaching for quite a while is understanding how to be a public person, because currently we are all public persons. We're sitting here being recorded. It's being put out online afterwards. So everything you say can be used against you sooner or later. And a lot of people would never understand this. When I was a critical journalist in a big newspaper, I remember before the internet, I remember that I sometimes had to tell my sources, well, maybe you shouldn't say this because you might get fired. Or so that's how we all need to manage our own identities today, as if we were all journalists with our own medium and we are public persons. If you want to be private, you have to understand that there are other tools. The third and biggest thing to teach is what I call data understanding / data democracy. And this is where we see there's a new trend coming up where a lot of smaller companies are starting up as kind of personal data stores or personal data sharing intermediaries. That is new companies or nonprofits who are helping individuals control their own data. One thing is protecting your privacy and protecting your data. Another thing is actually activating your data and using them for the better of your own life or maybe for society. You want to donate data for science, or you want to give your data to a company because you get really good services, but you are in control. And that's a new thing, individual data control. It is pretty new and it's very uphill, but it's the only way we can get a democracy where we are not being manipulated economically or politically as we are today. And that is a really interesting trend. And I'm actually publishing a book next week, probably. It's free. You can find it on dataethics.eu, or even sign up to our newsletter at Data Ethics, and you'll get it. And here I describe this trend with personal data stores. That will take a little longer than 6 minutes, but every country in Europe today have a company or a startup who are trying to work with this. And we are also seeing bigger multinational companies like MasterCard or big banks in Europe trying to give individuals much more control of their own data. And finally, in Japan, we already have personal data banks, and they're certified if they live up to certain standards where individuals can control their own data. So it's all in the beginning, but we're going to see much more of that. And we need to teach ourselves. And just one last example. Today, we see kids working with their own data. If they're on Snapchat, for example, on Snap Maps, which is a very manipulative feature where you can show where you are physically on a map, like what we just saw, but you give that to Snapchat and to 3, 4, 5 friends. But the kids know exactly when to turn it off, you know, when they don't want nobody to see where they are, they just turn it off. So they're already starting to control their own data. So that's what I want to say.
Thank you. So we came sort of backwards into this to this session. So now I would actually like to introduce Pernille, because you are originally a journalist and now you run a little think tank called Data Ethics. So you have actually been working with this for a number of years. And one of the cool concepts you have is called digital self-defense. Can you just say like 3 words about that before we move on?
That's something I started in 2012, 1 year before Edward Snowden. I wrote a book called Fake It. Your online identity is worth gold. This is how you protect it. And I've been teaching that the past decade. And it's about how to control your data. And instead of using Chrome today, you should use Firefox. Instead of using Google search, you should use another search engine. There are lots and lots and lots of alternatives, and they are also free on our website, Data Ethics, so you can get a little, all the links to the alternative tools instead of Google Maps or Google Translate. There are actually really, really cool tools out there today, which are not exploiting your data in the same way as Google is doing it.